Dr. James Richardson is an economist at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge. Hey, Dr. Jim, how are you this morning? Thank you for taking time.
How you doing?
Excellent, thank you. You know, we had, and he's a state representative from Ruston on not too long ago. His name is Robert Shadowin, Representative Robert Shadowin. And basically,
Yes.
The question we asked was, are Louisianans undertaxed? And it was in the middle of all the special session and tax raising stuff. We said, are Louisianans undertaxed? Because he was in favor of a lot of those revenue enhancements. And he said, Louisianans aren't overtaxed. Well, there's a Wall Street Journal site or something that says that, in fact, Louisianans are not overtaxed, right?
Well, there's a number of studies. A recent one put out indicating that compared to other states, we're about number 45 or so in terms of being close to the bottom and being low tax states. The Tax Foundation, a business group out of D.C., has consistently said we were at the lower portion, certainly the bottom 10 states, sometimes the bottom 5 states, in terms of taxing ourselves for our public services.
Why is
now,
it
that doesn't? Oh, pardon me.
No, why is it then that there is? Why do Louisianans feel either we're not getting the bang for the buck or overtaxed? Why is that? Where's that disconnect?
Well, I think typically people can measure things outside our states, but I think how you feel about taxation depends on what you've been used to. So obviously, you feel you're paying a lot for the public services you're getting. If they try to increase it, they say, "Hey, what's happening here? Why are you doing that to me?" So I think it's a matter of perception, and it's a matter of if you just look at numbers, comparing us to almost any other state in the country, we don't pay quite as much as other states do on a per capita basis.
Right. Is the fact
does that factor in our sales tax though?
Yeah, that's one of the highest in the country. That's not
yes,
perception,
it does.
right?
It factors in the sales tax, the income tax, the property tax. Those are typically state and local taxes together. The sales taxes are where we stand out in terms of that's one part of the tax code that we have mastered in terms of taxing sales, at least some sales, not all sales. We have a long list of things we exempt, and one of the reasons we exempt them is because we have these very high rates on them. So people come up and say, "Hey, we cannot pay that tax, that sales tax rate, so we need to be exempted." So we have a very long list of exemptions from the sales tax for that very reason, because it's a very high rate. But when you go to the store to buy something, cost you $1, and it's $1.05 or $1.04, you probably don't notice that very much.
All the talk about a constitutional convention for tax reform, if you had your way and your magic wand, you could wave it to fix our tax structure, where would you start, Dr. Jim?
Well, I think we had a study back in 2015 that I and Professor Scheffrin and Alm from Tulane University did for the legislature. And then all three of us served on a special tax commission, HCR 11, and we all suggested one of the things we really have to do is we have to get rid of a lot of the exemptions and a lot of the special things and get the rates down. But that applies to every tax we're talking about. It applies to the income tax, individual income tax. One of our major exemptions is the federal taxes we pay. Most states do not allow people to deduct that before they get their taxable income. And that's a big number, a huge number. It costs the state over $1 billion each year at the current rates. And we have always suggested that if you eliminate that particular exemption, you could lower the rates from what they are right now. And you wouldn't necessarily have to gain revenue, but you could gain revenue to depends on what your budget situation is. But you could. It's a two-way street. You have to lower the rates. You have to get rid of the exemption. But that's constitutionally protected. So the legislature, even if they wanted to, could not do it. They had to ask the people to do that. And we talked about that. And there are several other exemptions that are very costly. There are several tax credits that we have, which people debate. For example, there's if I'm a business in Caddo Parish, I pay an inventory tax to my local assessor or my local governments.
Mm-hmm.
I come to the state, and I get a credit for that. The state repays me, or did repay me.
So many hoops, right? So many hoops to jump through.
A lot of hoops there, and that again, that was done in the 90s as an economic development process. We want businesses to come to the state. Inventory taxes, one of these hurdles. We couldn't eliminate the inventory tax because it's a local revenue source. So we did it in a roundabout way. We said, okay, you pay your local government. We'll give you a break at the state level, though.
Pardon me a second, Dr. Jim. You just said the reason for all the just the bizarre way that we do taxation in Louisiana. And if we are, in fact, one of the lowest taxed states in the country, I guess the question is obvious to me, why aren't businesses flocking here? Why is the reason they give we're overtaxed, that your taxation is too high? Where's that? Once again,
well, I think taxation is a two-way thing. It's not just businesses. It's also individuals. Businesses may say they are overtaxed. They may think that. I think for the most part, I think the businesses will come for a lot of reasons. One, they come for, obviously, your location. Well, we have certain things that are very important for businesses. We have some resources, natural resources, obviously oil and gas. We have the rivers. We have the transportation. We have the trade. Now, what we don't have is we don't have that massive airport like a Dallas-Fort Worth or like Atlanta has.
But pardon me, but they will tell you, businesses will say, the reason we ain't coming to Louisiana is because the taxes are too high and the education system and the infrastructure. But let's focus on the tax for the second. If we're so, compared to other states, undertaxed, where is everybody?
Well, I think the question then is, okay, you mentioned three things. Which one's the most important for a business to do? If they look, okay, the tax issue, the public education issue, the infrastructure issue, or other public services. And unfortunately, the way you pay for those public services is how? You have to tax us a little bit more. So it's a trade-off there, and I think what we have, if they can complain. Of course, businesses talk about taxes at the bottom line as they make decisions. That's certainly one of the elements. But the other factors are also important, too. And indeed, in some situations, as we move to a new type of a business structure, a lot more businesses that are, say, information-oriented, technology-oriented, the quality of the labor force becomes very, very important.